Alright, outside now. I got my rear torque specs and my front torque specs all transcribed onto a single piece of paper, so I don't have to hunt for them anymore, and convert it from Newton meters to pound feet. You know what, I'll even freeze frame that at the end, that way you can see what's doing. Okay. So we're going to put this back together. Refresher, tie rod is in, new one. That is going to stabilize our bar length. That's going to be like one of the last things we button up, because we need to be able to get in there to torque these two 21 mils. Now, you want to have this thing in here first, just kind of sitting, because if you don't, it's going to be a bitch to try to hammer up in there. That's going to be kind of hard to hammer in there too, but less so than that. So what we're going to do is you're just going to have to move this out of the way. We're going to swing this up, and we're going to set the knuckle on it. This is going to be the order of things that it attaches to the knuckle is, starting from the back moving forward, is the tie rod end, which we're not going to do yet. We'll do that last. We're going to do this first, because that's already attached to the frame, and then we will put the control arm, that guy, in the knuckle. So boom him, boom control arm, torque them both down. And then we can put the strut in. When we put the strut in, that'll hold the knuckles still. We'll be able to get the that thing in there, the control arm to the frame set up. We'll be able to put that in there, impact that on, or torque it down, whatever I feel like doing. And then we'll be able to jack up the suspension, torque everything down on this side. Then I can torque that down. I need to torque the clamps still, because those are half-assed on if I remember correctly. And then that's it. Jack the car up off the stands and set it back down, and then we'll, I guess before that we'll turn the wheel left and right, make sure that's all doing. But that's pretty much it. Once we put the knuckle and everything, once we put everything back on, we can put the calipers, everything back on, torque him down, boom, done. Alright, so let's do that. And I said 21, but I apologize, that's a 22 millimeter nut, where the thrust arm bolts to the knuckle. And that was the one I didn't have the torque specs for, so I just impacted it. A few threads on. It's a lock nut, so that should be good enough. Doesn't have any clunkety play or anything when it moves. The only thing that kind of clunkety clunks is this, because we're not tight yet, but that should be fine. Alright, next is going to be the 22 millimeter. So it's going to bolt in here for the control arm, and that is 68 foot-pounds to the knuckle. The chassis is 57 foot-pounds. We're not going to bolt that on yet. We'll just get the knuckle, get that on the knuckle, boom, get it there, and then just kind of hold it in place. Alright, here's where we are. We got the nut on the front, washer on both sides, remember, bolt through. That's a 18 millimeter. And that's going to get torqued to 57 once we have this vehicle at ride height, which is going to be jacking it up from underneath. Right now we have tie rod getting ready to go in. So here's how you do this, right? So after I torque down the two things on the knuckle, the thrust arm and the control arm, you can pull the knuckle out, and then you can grab your strut, slide it down through where the pipe clamp is over here in the back, and then you'll have to push it in through the wheel well, and then you have to lift it up to where you can get it started up here on the top, which is what I did. Started them in, then impacted them on with a 13 millimeter. Then got this guy in here, 19 millimeter, I believe is what he is. I do have a torque spec on that clamp. Steering knuckle to strut clamp. I believe it's supposed to be 60 foot-pounds. I just impact it on and call it a day. But 60 if you want to actually torque that. It's a clamp, so, you know, tight enough is tight enough as far as I'm concerned. Now, in any case, after that, you have to get your jack and put it underneath the car, underneath the control arm here, and then jack it up. You need to jack that up so you can get the tie rod to clear. The knuckle will go up, and you're going to have to kind of pull on it a little because it's going to want to twist. So just keep pulling on it until it clears the tie rod. Take the bolt, or the end of the ball joint, whatever you want to call it, and then place it, get it just below where it needs to be. Kind of, you're going to have to bend it a little too, so I used a little deep, put it on here, and then was able to move the ball joint to where I needed to go, tie rod. And then from there, you just slowly let the pressure down on the jack so the knuckle will fall, and then while you're pulling and moving the knuckle, so it'll slide right in. Then once that got in, I needed to get it up so I could get the nut on, so I put the jack back under here, got a hockey puck so I don't damage anything. And then now that's up through here, so now we can torque this tie rod down, which is going to be tie rod to the knuckle is at 48 foot-pounds. So 48 foot-pounds, and that is a 19 millimeter socket. We'll put that on. So, all right, be back once I. So now I just got to put that in there. And I can jack this up and torque that thrust arm to chassis and control arm to chassis to their torque specs. And then we're on the home stretch now. This beast is almost done on the front. Okay, so we got everything back together. Well, mostly. We just need a stabilizer bar now. And it's worth mentioning, before you torque your control arm to the chassis here, make sure that your stabilizer bar is above on both sides, or you're gonna have a bad time, because you'll figure out pretty quick when you go to put these on, they're not gonna reach. So don't do that. Make sure that after you put them on the knuckle, control arm on the knuckle, and before you do that, you just kind of swing it out of the way, lift that up, sway bar, and then push this over, and then you'll put it up in there, tap it into place with your mallet, and then put your bolt through, and then your nut on the other side, 57 foot-pounds. We got the ABS sensor back in. You can see that's in that was, I believe, a 5, I think, hex. So everything's ready to go. I just need to get my 13 mils and put these back on the stabilizer bar, put the end links back on, attach it to the stabilizer bar and then the strut tower, and then put the wheels on, and that's it. Calipers are on. Those were I think those were 16 millimeter, right? Check, so I got a 16 socket here. Yeah, those were 16 mils, and those torque specs were 81 foot-pounds. 81 foot-pounds on the brake caliper. So there you go. On. Just need to put the end link in, and then the wheel, and we're done. And the wheel bolt torque is, I believe that was 90. It was like 88 or something, plus or minus a few foot-pounds. Let me see. Yeah, 88 plus or minus 7 foot-pounds. So you could go up to like 95. So there you go. 48 foot-pounds is going to be the torque on the stabilizer end links. And remember, the top one did have a washer. New kit didn't come with a washer, so I'm reusing my old one. 17 millimeter nut. Alright, only thing left to do now is put the wheels on and turn the steering wheel to make sure everything works. And we did remember to tighten up the tie rod ends of the clamps to 20 pound-feet. And in case I didn't mention, the little deal on the back of this to keep this from spinning is a either 16 millimeter wrench or a 5/8 wrench. But I didn't need it, I just kind of impacted it on, so there we go.